Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. This is my last Saturday evening at Bodhivana Monastery. I shall be returning to the UK next Friday. I came last February for 6 weeks, and it turned out to be 9 months. But Lumpur Kalyano and the Sangha here have been very kind to me and allowed me to have a lot of time for meditation and contemplation. And very generous offerings from the lay people, beautiful, spacious monastery. So actually it's quite good fortune to get locked down here. Interesting timing to go back to the UK, here in Melbourne. No coronavirus cases for 2 weeks. Lockdown easing, sunny weather coming. To go back to England, 20,000 cases a day, lockdown, winter. Yes, I think some people are questioning my wisdom faculty. Anyway, but this is the way things are, and but having the Buddha's teachings and these wonderful refuges that we can cultivate using the Buddha's teachings, and gives one the confidence to more be able to more peacefully adjust to the changing conditions. I'm just seeing now people looking happier, the sunshine, and be able to get out. And maybe the people in the UK won't be looking so happy. But to reflect on that is that we can't depend on external things for our sense of well-being, and the importance of cultivating our own inner refuge, own inner sense of well-being, so that we can keep a quality of balance in terms of not getting dragged down if people around you are not happy, and also the opposite, not getting too carried away with excitement when people around you are all excited. And the Buddha, cautioned us about that. He called it don't get carried away by human beings, but keep your sense of balance, and this will lead to a quality of more peaceful well-being. That's not being affected by the conditions around us. So this is something that I reflect on, see how well I do, but I feel confident that this is something we can practice and do. Keep a quality of balance and steadiness, no matter what is happening around us. I quite like that quote from Kipling in this poem called If. And, I don't know if you heard this poem, but very, like in line with the Buddha's teachings. And it says, if you can keep your head when all around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can live with the hating, but not get caught in hating too. Yeah. And these are the sort of things that Kipling praised. Now, I don't know how it's been for you all in the lockdown, whether it's been an opportunity for you to have more time for, meditation and reflect on the Buddha's teachings without being able to go out and about and do many other things. And how to, if we have found out how to keep that practice going. This is important to keep our practice going. I think this is like the fourth right effort in Buddhism, the practice to maintain what we developed rather than it all losing it. It does happen, I've seen this, and people go through difficult times and they really get interested in the practice and the teachings, and then things change and they're all happy again, and then they stop practicing. So how to keep practicing even when, things are looking better and you feel more well-being in oneself. Because we don't know what's around the corner. And it's good to prepare ourselves for any, life situations that may arise. And one thing that's going to arise is, as we chanted tonight, is old age, sickness, and death. That's going to get to us eventually. So how to cultivate those things that will help us to deal more peacefully when these conditions arise. But, it is challenging. When I first started to practice meditation, I didn't find it easy. I recently had a message from somebody saying, I don't want to meditate and sit there fidgeting and mind all over the place. And as though that was only for them, welcome to meditation. That's part of the process, being able to just be patient and sit with, a body that doesn't want to sit still, or a mind that's all over the place. That's sort of the sort of things we have to learn to be with. On my first meditation retreat I did in England was with Luang Por Sumedho in a place called Oakenholt, Oxford. And I'd only been, going to in those days, Luang Por lived in the Hampstead Vihara in London. And I used to go there for meditation on a Sunday night and listen to a talk. I found it very helpful to set me up for the week. And this retreat came up. So I started going there in February, and in June, Luang Por Sumedho was teaching this 10-day retreat in Oxford. And, I found it difficult to sit there for 45 minutes. I was like, 10 days, oh, no way, And but Luang Por Sumedho said, oh, come along, it'll be good for you. But I had an excuse. I had to go to a wedding that weekend. It started on Friday, and on Saturday I had to go to a wedding. And I was the best man for a friend of mine from university. So I won't be able to get there till Sunday night. So I thought that was a good excuse. But Luang Por Sumedho said, well, come Sunday night. So I ended up going to the retreat and arriving there at, from Cumbria to Oxford's quite a drive. I sort of arrived there, sort of 11:30 at night. And, in those early days of the Hampstead Vihara, there was Luang Por didn't teach much about precepts because he wanted to just emphasize meditation. He thought if he started to teach too much precepts, people might be put off. Yeah. So I had a nice weekend at the wedding, lots of drinking and dancing and music. And so I got there 11:30, didn't sleep very well. And then at 5 in the morning, I'm in the shrine room, sitting there quietly. And this voice cried inside, said, well, what have I done? So I had, the first 3 days were just pain and restlessness. And even one of the monks who commented on how I looked during those few days, But then after those few days, things settled a bit. And interesting, when the mind settles a bit, how much the teachings tend to have more impact. So I started to, more absorb the teachings of what Luang Por Sumedho was teaching, which really, something really hit home. But just the difficulties of sitting, being with unpleasant physical sensations, unpleasant mind states. It's all part of the package. But if if we do stick with it, then good things can come out of that. Very helpful things. I remember in those days when I was, finding it, not easy to practice. I remember going into this school one day and seeing a poster on the wall. It was this sort of sad-looking dog, and the words on the poster were, "It's hard to be good." And I thought, yeah, it is. And then it reminded me of this teaching from the Buddha that says, it's easy to do those things that are not particularly useful for us, but to do those things that are truly beneficial is not easy. This is the saying from the Dhammapada. It's good to have a group of people to meditate with. If we can find friends near us that want to find it difficult to sit, meditate on their own, but if you can find some friends nearby who sit together and support each other. I mean, I couldn't, in the early days, sit on my own. I had to have more group support. But then the monks from Hampstead moved to Chithurst, and and didn't have that Sunday night support. But because it was a couple of years of meditation, I managed to determine to spend Sunday night just meditating and reflecting on the Dhamma as a preparation for the week ahead. Now, sometimes when we practice meditation, if we just, experience similar things, we think, oh, restlessness, oh, not just want to sit there in another restless meditation, or mind all over the place, or discomfort. Can be a bit discouraging if that happens. That's a common experience. But it's, it's sometimes we don't see how we are developing something very skillful and helpful for us. One of the stories I like to bring to mind and is a story that a gentleman called Maurice Walsh told about his experiences with meditation. And he was a professor of German in a university in London, and he got interested in meditation. I think he was probably in his late 50s. And he'd been doing this for a while, but the same old, restlessness, mind, all over the place. And he was thinking, oh, I think I'm not getting anything out of this meditation. I think I'll stop going. He was thinking like this. So he came back from the meditation, back to his home, and he was having his evening meal with his wife. And suddenly his wife said, she said, Maurice, you've been so much less bad-tempered since you've been doing that meditation. He thought, yeah. He's going to realize, I've been less reactive to things. So sometimes in meditation we look for the actual experience in the meditation itself of peace, or but we don't know what other things we are cultivating, like patience. And patience is something that puts the dampers on overreactiveness. Some mindfulness, some patience. Anyway, after that he continued. And he went on to be on the charity that supported the Sangha in England, the English Sangha Trust. He turned his linguistic skills to maybe he translated the Digha Nikaya into English. He took up the study of Pali. And he became a temporary monk for one Vasa on his 80th birthday. Oh, bless him, he's passed away now. A very lovely old boy he was. But, if we really see the value in the Buddha's teachings and there's some faith there, then, I would encourage you to stick with find some time to stop, be still, even if it is, having to sit with a restless body and mind. We are still, cultivating something that can be of support. And the Buddha said that practice is not, it's like a gradual path. It's not instant. Sit down and get blissed out. How many people actually, just when they start to meditate, don't feel restless and the mind all over the place? I think very few. So don't feel alone in that. And sometimes it is a while before we see, we begin to appreciate the benefits of this practice. And the analogy the Buddha gave about seeing the results of practice, he gave the analogy of like somebody would use an axe, to chop wood every day. And if after every day you looked to see how much of the handle of the axe you'd worn away by holding it. You wouldn't see much difference, would you? But after a while, you say you've been using the axe for a while, you begin to notice sort of where the sort of slight things wearing away, where the fingers are. Said only after a period of time. So the Buddha would encourage us, cultivate good sila, morality, cultivate more focused attention, samadhi, cultivate wise reflection, wisdom. And the analogy he gave for this is like a farmer. A farmer, if he wants to grow a crop, must provide the seeds with, good soil, water, and sunlight. And for the crops to grow. So in the same way, to develop the practice, the importance of sila, samadhi, and panya. But then the Buddha also added that the farmer can't say, okay, crop, grow this much tomorrow, and grow this much the day after, and grow this much the day after that. No, the farmer can't say that. So all he can do is create the right conditions for the crops to grow, but then the rest is up to, say, karma. So if we are intent on growing something good in the heart, then the importance of sila, samadhi, and panya, and taking time to focus on developing these qualities. One teaching that I like to reflect on is a teaching that the Buddha gave to his son, Rahula. And, this teaching to me also reflects, how the practice develops. And in this particular teaching, first the Buddha asks Rahula, what is the purpose of a mirror? And Rahula replies, it's for reflection, to see one's reflection, to see one's image. And in the same way, the Buddha said, well, this is why the practice of mindfulness, meditation, is to see oneself, to see the heart, to see the mind. To an extent that, if before, say, one does something, or while one is doing something, or after one has done something, one should reflect. Has that been something of benefit or of harm? So this ability to reflect on our actions before, while we're doing, and after. And the same applies, bodily action to speech, and also to mental, our mental action, our mental activity. This ability to reflect on before, during, and after. And, through, the willingness to turn our attention more inward, to bear with things, this ability to reflect does begin to come into our life, more skillful reflection. So as I was saying before, when the Lumpur Sumedho and the monks went off to Chithurst, I tried, I decided to try and stay in Sunday night in my flat, in my room, and contemplate some Dhamma and do some meditation to prepare for the week. But sometimes that was quite challenging. And, especially, they moved to Chithurst in June, and you get this summer weather coming up, and Sunday night, nice to go out somewhere and do something, and nice, better weather and things. So this particular Sunday evening, I was feeling very restless. And, you think, the restless man wants to go and do something, and I couldn't sit or focus. But what I decided to do was to do some walking meditation. And there was a little circuit around where I lived where you could go through this wood and just be amongst the trees. I say it was a nice summer evening. So I decided to do this circuit. And so I walked up to the top of the road where I lived, and there's a cinema at the top of the road. And there was an action martial arts movie on the cinema. And, these are the sort of films I used to quite like. And I had the pull, to go and watch the movie, But then, then again, this ability to reflect before you do something, what will be the result? Okay, yeah, I won't feel restless when I'm watching the movie, but after, how will you be after? So, after reflecting on that, I grit my teeth, I managed to finish the walk, and I came back to my flat, and things had settled a bit, and I was able to more focus on reading some Dhamma and doing some meditation, and feeling quite peaceful at the end of the day. And I did reflect, if I'd have gone to see the movie, how my mind would have been, and how it was now that I stuck with the meditation. So, say more this ability to reflect on one's actions. While we do things, sometimes if we're doing some practical work and we're getting really, it's not working out, and we're getting really frustrated, sometimes we just to stop for a few moments, put it down, come back to it. Sometimes when frustration's in the mind, and things not going well, things can just go even worse. Or we're in a conversation and we're getting a bit hot under the collar, and it's not going in a good direction. To consider, how to, change the subject or excuse yourself or something. So learn to reflect while we're doing something. Again, it's this inner awareness, isn't it? Knowing how the mind is responding to what we're doing. And if it's something that might lead to us doing or saying something that's going to be harmful, then how to avoid that. Yeah. And then sometimes after, again, maybe this is something also that occurs to us at the end of the day. If we do, stop and just take stock of the day, bring our attention more inward, we see the results of the day. the results of what we've done and what we've said. And we can reflect on that. What was skillful, was there something unskillful, and we learn. Learn, that was good, that was helpful, cultivate more of that. That wasn't so skillful, so helpful, maybe try to avoid that next time. So this is it, we're reflecting like this, we're learning from the day's experience. And then, in a way, not being judgmental or being down on ourselves for, when we lost it a bit, but just to learn and begin again. We can always begin again. So the ability to stop and reflect at the end of the day. So this is the advice the Buddha gave to Rahula, and cultivating this ability to reflect. Reflecting before our actions, while we're acting, doing something after, and our speech, and on mind. Seeing the results of thinking a certain way, learning from this. So the more mindfulness and wisdom we have, then maybe, the natural product of that is begin to be more aware of mind states. And ways of thinking and contemplating that help us to let go of those not helpful, those unskillful mind states. Being aware of a mind state as it arises. Probably more, it takes a little bit more awareness to catch it as it arises, but maybe we can catch it as it's happening. And, if we are more mindful as mind states arise, then sort of an intuitive, understanding can sometimes come from that. And just an example from my own experience, this before I was a monk, and I was waiting at a bus stop in London, and it was sometimes in London, because of the traffic, you'd have to wait a long time for a bus. So I think I've been waiting about 40 minutes. You usually find that you wait 40 minutes, then 3 of them would come along. Anyway, so I was waiting at the bus stop and using the opportunity just because I was into the practice of meditation, to stand and breathe. And suddenly this gentleman came up to me, just dressed in plain clothes. And he said, "I'm a police officer. You look a very suspicious character. Come with me to the police station." And, surprised that this gentleman approached me like this, and I felt this sort of reaction and a sense of wanting to defend myself. But then, a sort of intuition came up that this man wasn't quite balanced. So I didn't respond. I just looked at him, and then he laughed at me and walked away. And then the other gentleman who was at the bus stop said to me, "Oh, don't worry about him. he does that to many people. But I really appreciate the practice of being able to just be aware of the reaction, but without following it. And this one may find that in certain situations and more intuitive understanding comes when we could be more mindful of the initial reaction, a more skillful reflection, and a better response. So this is why, the Buddha said, by looking after ourselves, we look after others. And, the nice analogy from the sutras is the analogy of the acrobats. And one of the acrobatic feats in the time of the Buddha was for a gentleman to balance a pole on his shoulder. And then a child would climb up the pole, and he'd balance the pole on his shoulders. The child was on the top of the pole. And in this scenario, the master says to the pupil, I'll look after you, I'll look out for you, and you look out for me, and then we can do perform our trick in a safe way. But the boy said, no, it's not like that. You look after yourself, and I'll look after myself, and in that way we can perform our trick safely. And the Buddha said, actually, the boy was right. By looking after oneself, one looks after others. And this analogy is about, about the importance of cultivating the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Is a way by looking after ourselves, we look after others. That when we develop these 4 foundations of mindfulness, they promote qualities like patience. I've mentioned that before, being patient with challenges, harmlessness, kindness, and empathy. It helps us support more skillful responses to the situations of life. Probably a little analogy that comes to mind is like, we've been having to wear masks. We wear a mask for 2 reasons. Maybe to protect ourselves from infection. And also, if we do have the infection ourselves, we don't spread it around. So it works 2 ways. And this is like how mindfulness works with the mind. It can protect us from getting overwhelmed by unskillful mind states. But then if we do, an unskillful mind state does take over the mind, how to be more mindful of it without spreading it around. So this is how, mindfulness works. Sometimes we can stop things from taking over the mind. Sometimes the karma is strong, and it does. But then we can have the restraint to not act or speak on them. So this is, the benefit of the practice in terms of not only benefiting ourselves, but also benefiting the people around us. finding our own quality of refuge and well-being through, the ability to let go of some of these afflictive mind states, cultivating more wholesome mind states. This is not only a benefit to ourselves, but it's a benefit to the people around us, because the way we are does affect the people around us. So, yes, as we emerge from lockdown, if we have been using this time for more meditation and reflection, then I encourage you to keep it going. And if you find it difficult, do on your own and find some people to meditate with. So I haven't met many people since I've been here in Buddha Bodhivana because of the restrictions, and I haven't even seen many faces, just a lot of masks. But I appreciate all the kindness and all the offerings that people have made during my stay here. I've been very well looked after in terms of the requisites and this wonderful support that is offered to the monastery here. And just to wish you all well in your practice of the Dhamma, in your practice of cultivating those things that are skillful and abandoning those things that are unskillful. So I'd like to offer these reflections this evening.
Ampameyam